Ladies and gentlemen, can you all hear me? Okay. All right, well, welcome to Guernsey Go Green 3, and this is our final of the three seminars we've been running for. It's timed to be just 2 days before the elections, and that's really very important to us. Now, before we kick off, I've just got a little bit of admin that I need to go through. We've had a number of technical problems here this morning, and so I hope it'll all work. I know my colleague David Hayler is up on screen. That all seems to be working well. He'll come in on the question time, and as will Richard Nettleton in the corner there. So, admin side of it, there is no fire alarms expected this morning, no tests planned. So any fire alarms that we do get we'll treat for real, and the fire exit will be through here. Okay. Now, we are streaming worldwide, and that's all live now. So everybody over in Eastern America, maybe a bit early for them, Western Canada, over in Vancouver, but they will be picking up on this later on, as will my colleagues and friends down with the Falkland Island Government Air Service in the Falklands. So that we'll all be saying hi to them very shortly. And more broadly, now the Islander works in 122 countries, so that you can expect a lot of interest in this right the way across the world. The microphones later on, when we're doing question time, there will be a mic handed around. It's a little bit clunky, but it allows the live streaming to get all of that information correctly. And unfortunately, over the last 6 weeks, my hearing hasn't improved at all, so I'm pretty deaf. If my answers don't match your questions, shout louder, please. Okay, so here we go. This is Guernsey Go Green 3, and in fact, the focus this morning is going to be on the aviation side of this mainly, but we will be having some a bit on the marine side, which is very important. Green air will now be written in this format as a single word with a capital A there. And our function in life is sustainable aviation. So your team today is David Hayler over in Exeter. That's all financial aspects of the operation. And Richard Nettleton here, marine operations and our marine aspects of what we're doing. And myself, and I'll be doing all of the strategic planning for this over the last year. So as an update, we've had an awful lot happen in the last week, and it's all good news. The Cranfield Aerospace, Rolls-Royce, Dennis Ferranti, ourselves, we've been able to, through a series of meetings last week, to freeze the specification of the aircraft, and that has allowed an immense amount of movement now. So that what it has confirmed is that all the timelines for the aircraft are fixed now, and they conform with what we had originally planned. So we will be expecting to get aircraft down here in 2023, 24. And in fact, the aircraft should be online as a commercial operation, electric aircraft online in 2024. The piston engine aircraft will be coming online early next year. Now, interestingly, last week, for the naysayers, there have been the first flight of a commercial standard build hydrogen fuel cell powered aircraft. And this is a little bit of one of our technical difficulties we've had this morning, so bear with me, and I hope I can bring this up for you. So there it is, and what I need to do, where's my little thing here? There we go. No. There we go. There we go. All right. Now, this aircraft is Well, let me explain. There's two bits I want you to look at on this. When it flies past you, look at its registration. It's got a G on the front of it. That's important. And then you will see slightly later on in this video a very, very large airship. I'm going to freeze it at that point, and I just want you to look at the size of a person in relation to that airship. Okay? Hopefully this will all work for us. Here we go.
It's said to be responsible for 12% of global carbon dioxide emissions. But what if we could make that all disappear? The only gas this plane is emitting is water vapor.
This project is all about zero-emission aviation, zero-emission flying. And until recently, people really thought that battery...
Hold on. I lost the knot there. What is that screen? Okay.
For 12% of global carbon dioxide emissions. But what if we could make that all disappear? The only gas this plane is emitting is water vapor.
This project is all about zero-emission aviation, zero-emission flying. And until recently, people really thought that batteries are going to get us there. But we've learned and we've always believed that it will actually be hydrogen that will take us longer and farther than batteries ever will do. So this plane is a 6-seat aircraft. It will be able to go 200, 300 miles by the end of this year. And this is just a stepping stone to then lead us to 20-seat aircraft in the next 3-4 years. And ultimately to lead us to transatlantic flights in 100, 150-seat aircraft by the end of this decade.
It only flew for 20 minutes, but the company says it's a step toward clean air travel. And they're not the only team working on such a solution in the region. In 2019, the Airlander, which was developed at RAF Cardington in Bedfordshire, got given the go-ahead to start building a model which could carry passengers.
Now look at the size of those people. That aircraft is a real aircraft. It's been flying, and it is absolutely huge. It will be, in fact, this one's flying with diesel-powered engines, but it will be flying with electric motors, and the whole of the top of that aircraft will be covered with PV cells, so it will be producing its own electricity. Okay, so let's just continue on there.
That uses helium to get off the ground. And Airbus, which has a base in Stevenage, is also working on a number of plane designs they say could carry hundreds of passengers and fly thousands of miles. The catch? The earliest they'll be around is 2035.
Between ourselves at Cranfield, up the road at Cardington, the old airship sheds, until a few years ago the Royal Aircraft Establishment at Bedford, this area has been a remarkable place where lots of aviation innovation has been going on for over 50 years now.
We've now come to recognise global warming as one of the biggest challenges faced by this generation. Protests have broken out across the region as part of wider protests across the world. It's a reaction to what many feel is a lack of action. Air travel is a big polluter, but a luxury many don't want to give up. Schemes like this could deliver us with the best of both worlds. Graham Stothard, ITV News.
Okay, now if I can get my side of this back somewhere, which I can't, hold on. Okay. Here we go. Right, so we're going to slight problems here, but we'll continue as we are. What the update is then that we've got the ability now, Green Air have got the ability to order our 8 aircraft sets of modification kits. That order was made last week, and so that the whole of this program can now start moving ahead. Those modification sets will start to be streaming in 2024, and in fact our first aircraft will move up to Cranfield to be modified in 2023. But it's also allowed Project Fresson to commit to the Channel Islands being the launch venue. That's extremely important to us all, and that Green Air is confirmed as the launch operator. The third leg of this, and this I'll be asking you again and again and again to think about triangles, to think about tripods and stability in all this, and that part of that comes into E-Flight leasing, and I'll get to that later on. Now, what is our commitment? It is sustainability above all other matters. It's sustainability. But to achieve that, we cannot, any of us, achieve that without a financial motivation. It has to be profit motivated. And that is why we are saying to get this thing to work correctly down here, we need inward investment. That is what we have got arranged. And that investment will allow us to do a number of different things here. Yes, get the islanders operating down here, but it is far, far more than that. It is to allow our high-tech jobs to be in place, the simplification of the flights, and the reduced cost of the overall operation. Now, the carbon-fueled, the industrial revolution, and it is hydrogen that must fuel the green revolution. There are a number of different ways of looking at that, but the catalyst for all of this is COVID and climate. Those coming together have absolutely forced us to make changes now. We do not have any second planet. We do not have any time to waste now. We must get on with this. And so that the likes of Guernsey Electricity, Rubis, Jersey Electricity, and many other companies are coming in on this now. We're all joining forces, and you'll find, if you look at the little logos down the right-hand side, right the way through this programme, you'll find that the many different companies are coming in on it. It's extremely important. So the politics of this, wonderfully, fortunately, and I see a number of our candidates amongst our audience today, they have all understood that this is an urgent matter in the local area, and it's an urgent matter worldwide. So that our candidates have had the foresight to bring this on board, and we must hold their feet to the fire. It won't be a carbon fire, of course, it will be an electric fire, and we really must do that. All of the parties have come on board on this, and all of the independent, I say all, most of the independents as well. What will we be doing? What will Green Air be doing? Well, what we are already doing is arranging a meeting with STSB. Now, Aurigny are a very, very critical part of all this, and the need is to approach the owners or shareholders of Aurigny, and that is STSB. STSB and we will be meeting shortly as soon as the new assembly is convened, and we fully expect STSB to be bringing forward P&R, because they will need to. They will be the people who will be giving the instructions. Aurigny, the States of Alderney. Alderney is extremely important in the whole of this programme. Economic development, yes, because it's going to have a massive effect on what we're doing in the Channel Islands. Guernsey Green Finance, because it is a finance issue, and in fact, where I've been speaking to you of E-Flight leasing, that is absolutely a part of the Guernsey finance and green finance issue. That's Dr. Andy Sloan. The States of Jersey, how do they come into this? Well, they do. And they're a very, very important part of it, because we're trying to get the whole of the Channel Islands to work in a unified manner with this, and to make the air travel completely seamless, but also recognising the fact that the global warming is causing a migration shift of millions of people north. We in the Channel Islands can't control that, but we must manage it. And part of the management is to allow our border forces the correct level of information. If we wish to move around the Channel Islands in a cheap and very smooth way, we need to give them that information. And we'll get to that bit in a minute. Crowd Media, now let me see, Crowd Media, Ollie, has been working very, very much with me for the last 8 months. And in fact, all of the research we've been doing over the last year has been funded by Harrison Aviation. There's no other input anywhere else. Crowd Media have taken that fully on board, and they have been working alongside us free of charge for the last 8 months to make this work. This is shortly to change, though, because we are going to be going worldwide, and the whole of this operation will broaden out very, very much in the coming weeks. Spike Productions, so I'm not going to let him out of the corner, but he's in the corner doing all of the work on streaming this worldwide. And again, Warren has been extremely helpful in making sure this all works correctly. So it's a coalition of the willing, but this October press release is extremely important to all of us. That will originate in Cranfield, but it'll be everybody who's involved in Fresson, which is Rolls-Royce, Dennis Franti, ourselves, Cranfield Aerospace. And we will be making sure that we all benefit. Now, what will happen on that press release is that those first 8 ship sets of modification, that will be brought to everybody's attention worldwide. Fresson will be brought to everybody's attention worldwide more than it already has been, and that the fact that the UK is leading this, and the UK will be putting the first commercial operation in the Channel Islands into play in 2024 is absolutely vital. The UK government are absolutely determined that we're going to lead this, and so what is happening here is critical. That's why that press release will be so important. Green Air plans, well, we're going to be based in Alderney. The aircraft will be 3 initially. They'll be piston engine Islanders, and they'll be coming in early part of next year, March next year. Route 1 will be the Alderney, Guernsey, Alderney. That will be the Islanders. Route 2 will be the Dorniers working on the Alderney, Southampton, Alderney route. That is vital to Alderney's future, but it's vital to all of our future. We've got to get the costs down on Aurigny, and so that Green Air will be taking over the Dorniers, we hope, with STSB's approval, and that those Dorniers, we will be working them hard in the UK and on that route to make sure that those aircraft are profitable. But because we wish to insure into Aurigny to reduce their losses, we will be wet leasing those aircraft from Aurigny, and so that there will be a direct flow of funds into Aurigny, that they know how much money they're getting every month, and it will provide them with a profit. We know that. That's how that is all working. Now, the aircraft frequency will be raised, and if you look at the Dornier, that takes 18 passengers, 19 passengers. The Islander takes 9. There's a good little one-liner here. Dorniers cost $7 million each, about. Take 19 passengers. Islanders that we'll be bringing in here, 2 Islanders cost £700,000. So if you look at it just in dollars, 7 million versus 700,000, 19 passengers versus 18. Well, who's going to have the cheaper seats? It must be that the Islanders can operate more cheaply, and that is exactly what they did 30 years ago, and that is why Aurigny was so successful in the first 30, 35 years of its life. It was operating at the correct scale, the correct level within the Channel Islands for the Channel Islands' best need. Okay. Oyster cards are going to be very, very important. Now, as I mentioned, the migration, economic migration will happen. there will be millions of people heading north into Europe. We must manage that. We must give the states the correct level of security, and that applies to all the Channel Islands. But the way in which it will be done is this. When you first use the Green Air operation, you will need to have a one-off entry of data, which will by and large be your passport data, exactly the same as you would normally going into check on a flight. But it will be a one-off time. You'll be given a card, and that card will allow you, when you get on the aircraft, you don't have to book seats. You can if you wish, but you don't have to. When you take that card, you will check in exactly as you do on a London Underground with your Oyster card. You'll be able to put money on the card. Granny will be able to put money on your card for your Christmas presents. But when you check in there, the border forces throughout the Channel Islands will know exactly what you're doing. You get on, you get off the other end, and you check off. They know where you are. But the interesting part about this scheme is that it is also tied in to the Jersey app, which is a States of Jersey app for COVID-19. So that all of the COVID-19 fraternity, all of the medical people will also know where you are, and they'll know what your COVID status is, that you're clear to fly, clear to move around, and so that everybody is firm on that one. Border forces know where you are, so you've got this very short check-in, very short clearance at the other end, and it speeds the whole thing up. So those really are going to be fundamental to this working correctly. Green Air is self-funding. We don't want to bring in any money from anywhere else. We have got the funding for this, but we do need, and we absolutely must have, for this to work, we must have STSB's moral support. They must be willing to move forward with this. Now, the States of Alderney are. They've written some very, very good letters and press releases from up there last week, and letters directly to us. They're absolutely on board with this, and it is up to me now on that meeting with STSB to convince the new assembly when they come in. The aircraft will be painted in British Racing green, and they will be have on the tail of them, much some of you will remember down on the Le Mans races, Jaguar had a very good series of racing down there. Their cars had a big white circle on the fin with a number in it. And these aircraft are going to be registered in Guernsey, and the registrations will be 2 GRN, 2 green, and then a number, 1 to 8. And those numbers, that last figure, will be on the tail of the aircraft. Now, we think there's a little bit of marketing fun to be had with this. And in fact, what we're going to do is, we know that you're all going to be busy, you'll be going around the Channel Islands a lot. And so what we're going to do there is to say, if you're moving around in a day or in a series, and you get 3 aircraft in a series, 1, 2 and 3, or 4, 5 and 6, then that last flight, the cost of that last flight, will be given to Le Bourge Hospice. We will be the specialist on the 10 and 20 seat aircraft, and that is how this will work. E-flight leasing, I asked you to look at triangles and tripods, and it is extremely important to remember how this is working. We've got Alderney, Guernsey, Jersey, that's a triangle, 3 of us, that's nice and stable, we're working together on it. The design up in Bedford, that's a leading Cranfield Aerospace is leading the whole of the movement into electrification of aircraft worldwide. The operations down here are working absolutely in concert with them, but a 2-legged stool doesn't stand up. A 3-legged stool does, and the 3rd leg of that stool is the finance. How do we do that? Well, hydrocarbon plane leasing has traditionally been based in Southern Ireland, and that is still the case, but we believe that e-flight leasing, electric aircraft leasing, is very, very different to hydrocarbon aircraft, and that we are going to be basing that in Guernsey. But the whole of aviation is moving over to electric aircraft, and that is millions and millions and millions of pounds coming in to Guernsey, into the finance industry of Guernsey. That is being set up now, and that is our third leg of stability of this operation. So the Guernsey Green Finance Initiative, that's Andy Sloane's initiative, that is exactly part of that, and we are working with him and others to achieve it. So, whatever you've seen so far in this, now double, because all of electric aviation is moving over into the maritime world, and that is also a very strong and large part of what we're doing here today. We're going to move that over there, and so that the all of the maintenance, all of the pleasure craft and the commercial craft, they will all be going electric, but they may not be using batteries. They probably will be using hydrogen fuel cells, and because those are advancing so rapidly, they should be seen as just another form of battery. They are slightly different, but that is what they give batteries, is a far higher power density, and indeed the ones which are currently in use and the ones which we're putting into the aircraft are quite different. They're far, far more advanced, the ones going into the aircraft, and we're going to be moving those sideways into the marine world. Now what I'd like to do now is hand over to Richard Nettleton. He's going to just go through 3 or 4 slides on the marine world, and then I'll come back and we'll wash this up. Okay? You've got no screen on here, but the things do work. Okay? Okay.
Right. Oh, right here. Yeah. Okay. Hello. Again. Firstly, thank you very much for coming last time, and all the positive feedback we had was amazing. I had endless emails following last time's presentation, interviews on Radio Guernsey. Very interesting times. Everybody's really fascinated. So looking forward to this. It's very difficult to follow Mark on all of this, but it's going to be keeping it simple. Right. Where are we? Here we go. Green Marine. So, zero emissions. That's the plan. Forging a zero-emission future for the islands using hydrogen. Previous years have concentrated on batteries, but now, as Mark has just said, we're moving on to hydrogen, as has always been the plan, really, and as is happening with trains, cars, aviation, marine, all over the place at the moment. We are working in parallel with Green Air from the beginning, so improving the overall connectivity in parallel with the aviation. The idea is to create a Guernsey Centre of Excellence for technology. We believe this will create massive global interest, and we believe it will also create many jobs, which is always important. Logistics, potential routes, Guernsey to Herm, Sark, Alderney and Jersey, potentially to the UK and France in the future as we grow together with the technology that we use. Oh, wrong one. That one, there we go. So, you all know the map already, so Guernsey to Herm obviously is the easy one, followed by Sark, Alderney, Jersey. For Herm, we are collaborating with Trident Marine Systems with the idea of refitting one of the Trident ferries. Let's go over. So that's obviously not the Trident ferry, but it is a prototype of a potential ferry which could be adapted. The idea is to adapt 30 to 35 meter length catamaran ferries with hydrogen fuel cell technology, which will power the motors. Which actually, I'll go back a bit, if I put it in here something. Oh yeah. Just at the bottom here, I'll just mention, I talked about this a lot last time. my company is involved in a big project in Spain in collaboration with the Spanish government and indeed the current King of Spain. It is a project to connect Spain with the Balearic Islands, and we have been working for the last 3 years on a hydrogen ferry to do that. So that's how this all started. I suggested to Mark that we bring that project here, and that's exactly what we're doing. Going back to the logistics, the hydrogen itself, the fuel, will be ideally produced in the port. It's possible to install a hydrogen generator, which are autonomous, and that itself, rather than plug into the grid, will be powered by renewables, which might be solar or most probably wind as well. So it will be very much a whole renewable operation. I had some more points in there, I think. Yeah. So whether we do it in the port by itself is one option, or we combine with the green air infrastructure, which we are creating with Mark. Again, we are working on this. We are currently conducting a feasibility study, which is going to take into account all the costs involved, the distances between the islands, the sea conditions, the shape of the hull, and the weight, and of course the demand of the passengers, which is also very important. And there's a brief technical diagram down there about how a hydrogen fuel cell works, but I won't bore you with that. But basically, the liquid hydrogen, once inside the fuel cell, creates the electricity which powers the electric motors. And here we go. Waterside is a member of the Solar Impulse Foundation, which is a worldwide organization for renewable projects. That was founded on the back of the Round the World Solar Plane project journey that they did a few years ago. We are working with them to have our project listed as a solution, and this will bring a massive amount of public relations PR to Guernsey on a global scale. Funding wise, obviously these things are not cheap, so we are looking at the UK tech funding possibilities together with Mark and the Green Air. Or we also already have many private individuals interested in investing in this. So it's looking very positive, and it's a massive opportunity to put Guernsey on the world stage as a centre of excellence for this new transport. And I think I'll leave it at that for now.
Good. Well, thanks for that, Richard.
I hope that helps.
Yep, there we go. That's good. Now we've got, this is really very nearly at the end here. So all we've got really to say, this is Green Air is going to be doing green, not just talking green. It is a project which will, we hope, act as a flagship for the whole of the green finance industry, the whole of the shift to green, and that this is what all of the last 8 months' work here has been, is focusing on this election. We have got to get the new Assembly to make that move over and full commitment to the Green Initiative. We don't have a choice of this. The whole of the world is cooking. We must get on with it. The benefit will be that we'll be this world-leading technology in this area, but we will also absolutely be reducing the losses of Aurigny, and we're going to provide this simple local air service, which is exactly what it was 30 years ago. It's very simple. We know it works. Let's get on with that. The other part, though, going back to your triangles again, the routes we're looking at, yes, we're going the triangular route round the Channel Islands, but we're also going Guernsey, Rennes, Caen, Guernsey. There's another triangle. There's another triangle which you'll be looking at. I think you'll find that Aurigny will be going Guernsey, Isle of Man, Heathrow, Guernsey. And you need these triangular routes. They're very strong. They are good for the financial bottom line. We need to work on those. They provide stability. But each of them should be bringing in tourism. And in fact, one of those routes, one that we've got, Alderney, Southampton, Exeter, yes, but also further to the west and back into the Channel Islands. That's another one. We know there are a lot of people down in the west of the UK who want to come here. Let's use our safe haven that we have become here to bring in these tourists. It's going to bring in the high-tech jobs, but it's also going to bring in a strong economic help for COVID-19 recovery.